What's up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we are at Lenora Park over in Snellville, Georgia, and we're going to sort of answer a question that I think has been coming up more and more in the beginner world as more content's being produced, and that is putters only still the way if you're trying to improve? And if it's not the way, is there another way? Before we dive in, we have to ask the most important question of the day. How you doing today, Scott? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
It is pretty tried and true classic advice for beginners. If you're trying to improve, if you want to get better, one of the best ways that you should go about that is by playing putter-only rounds. Putter-only rounds have a lot of benefits to them that we'll kind of discuss throughout the video, but I've also, just myself, been a huge proponent of everybody should play putter-only rounds. However, as I have been trying to push and increase my distance thresholds myself, and as I see other players do this, I think that putter-only rounds present some inherent problems that are going to come later on in your disc golf game, and I feel like it's worth addressing them early before you find yourself like me, hating distance drivers and feeling so awful when you put them in your hands. So don't be like me. Let's talk about it. Was I wrong? Are putter-only rounds the way to go? Out here, hole one, 277 feet. We're actually going to go pig, 2 off the first. Feel good about it. Put the old Precious Child on some hyzer. It says 277 downhill. That's going to be pretty good. Right next to the basket. Wide pig. Not that wide. Much more inside. That's a good thing Precious Child was good. So, if you're throwing putter-only rounds, let's talk about what some of the benefits might be to putter-only rounds, because I still do think that they can be rather impactful. I think one of the first and probably one of the biggest benefits of putter-only rounds is you're going to learn how little disc you actually need in order to succeed or score on a course. I think lots of times we step up with these full bags and you have these big distance discs and you're like, hey, I almost have this golf approach to the hole, where when I'm playing golf, I hit the driver off the tee and then I hit the irons in the fairway, and then I use the wedges for approaches and the putter on the putting green. We like slot into when I'm on certain positions on a hole. That's when I should use certain clubs. But as you start playing with better golfers, you'll see that just because you're on the tee doesn't mean you have to hit a driver. And sometimes you play short holes and you really don't feel like you have to hit a driver. And I'll be one of the first to admit that unlike golf, the distance cap on how far you can throw things is dramatically easier to overcome inside of disc golf as opposed to golf. Whereas like in golf, a driver is the hardest club to hit. So it doesn't always go as far, or at least it doesn't go as far accurately. First putt of the day. We did a bag swap this weekend, and I can feel that it's about time for that putter to retire, because this putter has been in my bag since USDGC last year, and at the time of filming this video comes out, I think either during USDGC or the week after. So a full year. It's seen some things. It's nice and worn, and might be time to move on to some new ones. So take this hole for example. This is uphill. It's easier to get distance on the downhill hole that we just played, but going uphill could be a little difficult in order to get there. But if we are playing putter only rounds, like I said, you don't need as much disc as you often believe in order to score. And so I have to ask myself, hey, if I go with the distance driver, what variables do I bring into play, things like that? Or can I just try and get a hold of a putter and see if we can get there? Okay, we're pin high. We're pretty far out wide, but pin high. Now, the second thing that I think that playing putter only rounds brings into play is simplification. It's a lot harder to get into trouble with putters because they, when thrown correctly, especially compared to drivers, they don't go as far, but also they are a little less punishing when thrown incorrectly. And nose angle is something we're going to talk a lot about during this video, because a putter does not punish you for throwing super nose up like a driver will. And when you throw a driver super nose up, all these squirrely things start happening to you, and that's not ideal for us. If you can get into less trouble, I think you're going to find that you can typically score better because you find yourself in less trouble and you surprise yourself with throwing these putters. Okay, not as bad as we thought. I think we're going to go a little straddle. Right side. We've pulled both of these putts right, so that's good. There's some mental like thing happening of my putts, I'm like not committing and popping, and it gets really tricky mentally when you miss 2 putts to the right, because at least for my putt, when I give it the pop and give it the beans, the right miss comes more into play, but that's if I like don't do the proper form. It's just a little bit of a wild time. Now, the third reason that I like putter only rounds, and I think that it's a solid reason on why several people enjoy them as well, is that you have a built-in excuse at all times. What do I mean by this? Well, just like I framed the first part of this shot too high, when we walk in with our whole bag, our expectations are high because we have probably played disc golf to some level of competency in the past. We have succeeded, we've met goals, and when we set those goals or we throw really well, we sort of set that as the barrier for, or the bar even, of successful play. Well, you see, Mr. YouTube Man, one time I played this course and I shot 13 down, so therefore if I shoot 12 down, I'm pretty much a garbage human being and a garbage player. Sign me up for Franklin Disc Sports because that's the only sponsor I deserve. First off, how dare you, random commenter? The Albatross is a fantastic disc. But second, it sounds like a joke, but it really is this feeling that lots of you watching have when you play disc golf. I shot this round once in my life and everything else below that is disappointment. Instead of just appreciating, well, maybe you just like played really well that day, and it's okay for that to be just like a goal to get to, but not an expectation. What we mean by the built-in excuse of the putter only rounds is that there's really 2 options that are going to happen when you play a putter only round. The first result is that you are going to play shockingly well. You're going to get out there and you are just going to ball out and play in a way that blows your expectations out of the water. You're just like, man, I didn't think I could shoot 6 down on this course with just putters, but I shot 8 down. Surprise, surprise. Oh yeah, that needs to be an SSS. Well, the good news is that I didn't tell you where it was, I don't think. So it could be a really good shot if the pin position's over there. Now, if you shoot that really good round, you get the dopamine hit of saying, wow, I shot that well with a putter. Am I Paul Macbeth? But also a likely scenario is that you aren't gonna channel like your inner McBeast. You're not gonna get out there and shoot the round of your life. And if you don't do that, well, you have this thing of saying, well, I was playing with putters only. So like, what did I expect to happen? What did I think was gonna happen? That's difficult to score because I'm just playing with the slowest possible disc in my bag. So we walk away with only positive possibilities, because if you play poorly, you have a built-in reason that you did. And if you play well, you surprise yourself at how well you can play because you were just playing with putters. Also, spoiler alert, it was not in the left pin position. It was in the straight pin position, so we're not close. But it kind of almost didn't matter. We kind of almost threw it in anyways. That would have been cool. It's so great having the polecat back in the back. So at this point, you may be asking yourself sort of 2 questions. The first, and most importantly, what kind of storm is rolling in, and are we in danger? This is like a wide open field. Are we in danger? And the second, probably a little more prevalent to you who are not possibly out here in this wide open field. I mean, heck, you'd be watching this video and you're out here right now. What a cameo that would be. Mr. YouTube Man, You said that there are drawbacks to putter only rounds, and you just keep giving a lot of positives on putter only rounds. So it doesn't sound like you've actually convinced yourself that you were wrong about them. Well, that's because I haven't talked about the negatives yet. This is where we're going to talk about nose angle. Hold up real fast. We got to lace this drive through these trees and get it down there. It's only like casually 328 feet, so like I can definitely get that with a putter. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm kind of huge. Yeet! Told you guys I was going to park the basket. Fortunately, that's hole 3's basket, the one that we just played and also didn't throw to. So nose angle is the relation of the front of the disc to the line of which you pull the disc on. So a great example of this can be that if I am taking the disc and I am throwing it in this downward motion, like I'm pulling it in this downward motion, but the disc is relatively flat, then you can see that in relation to this, the nose is actually up, which means that it's going to create this sort of pocket that slows the disc down. It's like trying to throw a disc with a kite or a parachute behind it. Whereas if I am throwing the disc up and I have it on that flat, you can see that the launch angle is going this way, but the nose, the front of the disc, is down in comparison to that. Hopefully that makes sense. Just like it just makes sense that this is super short. Holy moly, Batman. Does this have tooling? It does. Oh, that's bad too. What? Who are you? What are we doing, dude? Because it was a polecat shot. You silly guy. I think that's still also really short. 4th try. Okay, I think the pig's a lot better. So why do we talk about nose angle in a should you throw putter only video? Well, putters have much more of a blunt rim to them. And so while I would say that a putter doesn't want to fly crazy nose up, it is less punishing when a putter flies nose up. Whereas a driver has that bladed edge to it that is designed to cut through the wind. But we can think of that bladed edge serving as more of a ramp so that when it is thrown nose up, it flies in a much more punishing and aggressive fashion. Such as here, I can take a Luna as well as a time lapse. A Luna is a 3-speed putter and a time lapse is a 12-speed driver. If I try to intentionally throw both of these nose up downhill here, we'll go with the Luna first. You can see that the Luna held relatively straight while still pushing some pretty good distance because it's a putter, so it's less punished. Now, if I take this time lapse, which is once again a 12-speed, so if we were to make the assumption, which is incorrect, that for every speed of the disc, it's supposed to go farther, this should be able to go 4 times as far as the Luna, which is just not true, even if this factor wasn't there. But here's what happens when we throw the Luna, or the time lapse, nose up. You can see the time lapse actually didn't even go as far as the Luna because nose angle is a real thing. And now it's raining, so we go to the trees. Now I know what you may be thinking after you see a shot like that. You may be thinking to yourself that, hey, this is why I got to take the distance drivers out of my bag, because if I throw my distance driver poorly, it just doesn't go as far as my putters. And I think that if you're trying to like score quickly and immediately, that is certainly an approach that you can take. We actually just saw this discussion over on the Pro Tour, and someone mentioned they just took everything that was faster than 10 speed out of their bag, and we're talking about a Pro Tour player. But that's, I'm gonna be 100% honest, sort of what sparked the idea for this video is that if you do this, I even remember there was discussion by Trevor and Hunter on Grip Lock talking about this, and they were like, for Hunter, if he took that approach, it probably would help him score better because he throws fairway drivers extremely well. But Trevor prefers to have that distance driver rim. He's very good at throwing flex shots, and like distance drivers just really suit him. So if Trevor just decided to embrace this method and say, oh, well, I got to play putters only and I have to avoid distance drivers at all times, he would not have found the joy and the beauty and the competence that he has when it comes to throwing those distance driver shots. Now, I will be the first to tell you that if you take the I don't want to throw fast discs approach, because I just want to be smooth with my putters and things like that, eventually there's going to come a time in your game where you need to start throwing these faster discs. And if you haven't put the time in and you've developed this somewhat nose up personality, like throwing those two shots there, it felt way more natural than I wanted it to be, to just turn the brain off and throw super swoopy nose up shots. That's been part of my game for a long time. And I remember years ago at the Creators Cup over in Charleston when we were playing, and there was this par 4 that I saw Molt had spent a lot of time in a field. We were playing match play in the finals, or semifinals, I guess technically. And Molt had spent a lot of time in a field. He loved to try to learn how to throw far, and that just wasn't something I was interested in. So I stepped up to a hole and I was like, I've got to throw a distance driver here. And I remember my frustration with throwing a driver. Like, I went to put this distance driver in my hand, going backhand, and just being so nervous putting it in my hand that it instantly made me doubt the shot, and I shank it into the woods. It doesn't go well. And I knew at that moment that something had to change. And still for several years, I just didn't try to fix it anyways. So I don't want you to fear an entire class of discs or be frustrated before you even throw the shot because you just decided to avoid them for a certain amount of time. So be sure you're throwing your fairway drivers. Throw essentially bladed edge discs, because I think if you just go putters only, that fear is probably the biggest negative, because you could build a very nose up habit of, thinking you're throwing well when you're just throwing discs that like your nose up angle. But there are two other aspects of throwing just putters that I think need to be discussed. This hole seems like sneaky far. How far is this? Oh, it's just 393 feet. Easy Luna shot. Yeah, we're like super close there. I think one of the skills that's a lot harder to pick up, and we actually have a video coming out next week about this, is the forehand. Throwing putters on forehand can be a very touchy endeavor because, in order to get that disc to go straight, I can't really put a lot of pop or pizzazz into it because it's a putter, so I don't want to overpower it. Whereas if you get comfortable throwing not just putters, you'll learn over time you can do a whole lot more with drivers. And while I don't want you learning like a chop forehand with the driver, it gets a little less punishing to experiment with the forehand if you don't just have putters. Obviously, an alternative here is you can go with something like a pig, because pig is love, pig is life, or you can go with a zone. Overstable putt and approach discs are a pretty classic way to overcome the putter mentality and still have something nice that you can work on forehanding it with. We actually have a video that a lot of folks have seen on a forehand lesson with Abby, my neighbor, and one of her best forehand discs that she has is she forehands a zone pretty regularly, and she does it extremely well. It's been really fun playing with her and watching how she has this confidence that was certainly not there before when it comes to forehanding a zone repeatedly. So just going with the putters only, I think, once again, will limit those options. But the biggest factor here that I want you to consider, and I really want to make sure that it's constantly being brought up in the discussions on this channel, because I understand that I've said before that I struggle to find a hobby that is more fun the worse you are at it. But as noted by the guy that I met before we started filming this video, this is a hobby for so many people in life, and will probably never be a job for 99.9% of people that play disc golf. When I say the guy I watched this video before, or I met as I was walking up to the tee, a guy stopped me and was like, "Oh, that's a nice camera. You're a photographer?" And I was like, "No, I run a YouTube channel." And he goes, "Oh, what do you do on your YouTube channel?" And I said, "Oh, I teach people how to play disc golf." And he laughed and went, "Oh, I thought you were joking." And then he told me that he also runs a YouTube channel and that I should subscribe. So we are his 4th subscriber. That's nice. If the idea of playing putters only sounds really not fun to you, then I would suggest keeping some drivers in there, keeping some fairways in there, and don't do the putter only rounds. Obviously, as we open the video with, there are some benefits, and I think those benefits are really strong. But there are drawbacks, and I will be the first to acknowledge them and know that my disc golf therapy is overcoming them. Still, you can see it in every single distance video that I ever do. There is definitely a fear inside all of them. So have fun with it. If you want to throw the big shot, throw the big shot. And even if the big disc that you're throwing doesn't go as far as maybe another disc does, but you have a lot of fun throwing it, bag it, throw it. Love it. Just like I love being here with you in this moment, right next to the camera. Because sometimes stepping up and grabbing that really cool best friend cigar just feels like a way better and more fun way to approach playing the hole. And then walking up with a Zone SS and being like, whoo, hope I can get it there. Because we threw the Zone SS far, it's just not remotely close to the basket. So hopefully this video didn't take a 180 that caught you completely off guard, but has some thoughts that are intriguing to you. Because I think there are certainly enough videos out there of putter only advice. I know I've got several on my channel alone. I think to answer probably how the thumbnail or title of the video is going to be packaged, I don't think I was entirely wrong by recommending putters only, but I think it needs an asterisk. And that asterisk is pretty important for the fun of disc golf, for the sake of your mental, for at least some of your mental, because I know that I'm not the only one out there who is afraid of throwing drivers. And hopefully it gives a fresh perspective on some reasons that if you've been afraid of trying drivers in the past, holy moly. I mean, it was past the basket. It just wasn't all the way up the hill, which was like the whole reason this was a hard hole to get to. So we can throw putters far. Although, is this cheating? It is a 4-speed, so I guess it is definitely a mid-range. So as always, lovely people, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.